Thanks for joining me again today. This is number 15 from the Develop Sight Reading book, Dufresne and Voisin. It's a Carl Fisher publication. I like this book, and I ask my students to get it, and most of them don't like it. I like it because you have to learn how to refine some of those skills that allow you to interpret exactly what's written on the page. There are many times in the BSO where we'd have a new piece of music that's just been written. The composer had a big score, and they were sitting up in the balcony listening to the first performance of the piece. So it was our job to play exactly what was written on the page, even when it didn't sound right and didn't make any sense. And that's a little nerve-wracking. I find that quite difficult to do. So this is a great opportunity these etudes are a great opportunity to practice that kind of steadfast determination in playing what's there, even when all your instincts are saying, no, that's wrong. Because the composer sitting out there needs to know whether the right notes are in your part or not, and he's listening, and he'll tell you whether it's wrong. You just have to be brave enough to play that note that really sounds wrong. So here, it's easy to play notes that sound right that are wrong, but we'll talk about that later. Okay, I'm going to play through it for you. This is number 15. Wow. Thanks for listening. I find these hard to keep the connection because they're written in such a way that's kind of choppy rhythmically. So again, it's really good exercise, especially for those of you who are sensitive musicians out there, to play these kind of anti-musical things. They're not that bad, but they really annoy me. So I'm going to play the end again and point out something, an area that gives a lot of people problems. I'll start with the last bar of the third line from the bottom, which is the dotted 8th, 16th notes. So you have a figure that 2 lines from the bottom, which is you have triplets and then duplets. So you have triplet 16ths and then regular 16ths back to back. And again, this is it might be easy for many of you, and if it's easy, good. Be grateful, because a lot of people kind of stumble on this. That's one thing to listen for and very carefully in your playing and to practice it until it's very, very easy to go back and forth between the different subdivisions. That's all the way through the book. That's one of the challenges. Now, something else that happens is either long notes or maybe a little bit longer than expected rests, and people get lost in the time and kind of jump. Usually there's a tendency to jump ahead. So the solution for that is know where you are in the bar and stay there. In other words, another way of thinking about it is if you're driving in a car, let's say, or riding your bike or walking for that matter, you can think of it that I'm going from here to there, or you can think of it kind of as if you were in a simulator and you're standing still and the road is coming to you. So it's passing you and you're stationary. Now it's a totally different mindset, and I find that idea helps a lot of people You have to wait for it to come to you. And knowing where you are in the bar, I mean, you don't have to, conduct the standard 4 pattern, but it helps to do that in your practice so that you're starting to get a feel, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, of where you're going and where you are at any given moment. Let me just play the end, and then we'll look at one more thing. So when you're playing those long notes, and you have a tendency to kind of feel like you're floating in the time, if you continue to feel the subdivision and where you are in the bar and go someplace specific, until that starts to sink in, you're learning the piece better. You're getting it kind of ingrained, and you'll feel much more control. And then you'll be able to play the trumpet better because you won't be concentrating on so much on not getting lost and trying to play the rhythms correctly. So one other thought, I'll let you go. A lot of times the music consists of how the notes are grouped together. So in traditional music, it's usually quite obvious what the phrases are. They might even be, a standard 4-bar phrase, for example. And that's very easy to hear and understand and accept. But in a lot of this music, you can't really tell where the phrases are supposed to be. So you have to decide. For example, right at the beginning, it's like, where is the phrase? How are the notes grouped? So I try different things. So I'm going to do it in 4, the way it's written. So you see I'm putting the emphasis on the first of the 4 beats. That sounds a certain way. Now I'm going to start crossing the bars. In other words, I'm going to carry the phrase so that 2, 3, and 4 beats of the second bar are going into the 3rd bar. So the first phrase is, or first grouping I should say, now that's just different, and that's what I want you to explore. So now you can hear, I think, how those phrases, those groupings make sense. They're a little bit more easy to understand. And that's good. That makes our life a little bit easier. When you can feel the groupings, you can play the gestures and the phrases better. So that's a real good starting place for when you're practicing. Now I said that was the last thing I was going to tell you, but I'll mention one more quick one, and you've probably noticed it already. There are some spots. Let's see if I can find it here. He puts you into a different key using accidentals, but there's still an F sharp in the key signature. And so you can very easily play a wrong note if, like me, you're an ear player. Let's see, where is that? See, that doesn't sound right. But the F sharp is still in the key signature. So our brain doesn't like that because we're looking at the music and there's a bunch of flats. So why should there be a sharp? well, they're accidentals. And so that sharp stays. And so that is going to be all the way through the whole book as well. If you persevere through this book, which I doubt if you will because my students hate doing it, but the one guy who did persevere all the way through, as I mentioned previously, thanked me because it really helped him to do some things that he knows he wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. He was better prepared. So keep that in mind as you're working on these. There's a purpose to it. Okay, enjoy your practice. I'll see you later on. Bye-bye.